stuff in office. I'm Lucas Peterson. I'm a food columnist for the Los Angeles Times.
I'm Amina Khan. I'm a science writer for the Los Angeles Times.
And we are here to talk a little bit about coronavirus, which is on everyone's minds, and also something I saw online about hand sanitizer. So hand sanitizer is almost impossible to find, right? And like it's being marked up in like egregious amounts by people reselling these things, right? Someone tried to make some hand sanitizer with Tito's vodka, and Tito's tweeted back, per the CDC, hand sanitizer needs to contain at least 60% alcohol. Tito's handmade vodka is 40% alcohol and therefore does not meet the current recommendation of the CDC. So that got me thinking, what if you just used stronger alcohol?
I mean, I guess you could, but you could also just wash your hands.
With soap.
With soap and water. That's probably more available and cheaper.
But hand sanitizer is just, it's in the bottle. There's no water, there's no drying. It's all gone, and then it just evaporates and you're miraculously like free of bacteria and germs, right?
Well, that would be great, but I don't know if you're free of germs. First off, the stuff that was on your hands is still there. So that includes the dirt, that includes the grease, that includes everything else that was nasty on your hands. Whereas if you wash your hands, that's actually removing all of that stuff from your hands.
Well, that being said, what if we do it anyway? I managed to buy the strongest thing you can legally purchase in California and Nevada, which is 151. Everclear was not available, but this is more than 75% alcohol. So it should, in theory, work. You're supposed to combine a cup of that with a half of cup of aloe vera gel. When I bought this at the BevMo, the guy said, he looked at me really like, seriously, and he was like, be careful. And he's like, that's for like Molotov cocktails, not for drinking. I imagine the coronavirus stuff has really kept you busy. Are there any things that you've noticed or picked up on that were surprising to you? Any kind of like things that you feel like you wish more people knew?
I think it's really interesting that kids are largely not the victims of the coronavirus, the particular novel coronavirus we're talking about, because their little systems are full of coronaviruses, because a lot of those, the many different kinds of coronaviruses are out there, and many of them cause basically just simple cold, sniffle symptoms. So they're so full of other viruses that the idea is that maybe this gives them some kind of protection. That's not to say they can't get sick.
Right.
And it's also not to say that they might not seem that sick, and so they could actually transmit it to people who could be vulnerable. So it's still important for kids to be safe and to be clean, because they could also be carrying the disease to other places without knowing it.
Very potent. I'm just gonna put it in a little bowl, a little mixing bowl, and I'm gonna put some of this aloe vera gel. Because I was looking on Amazon last night, and people have marked up hand sanitizers. Okay, the aloe vera gel's going in there.
Oh my, those don't look like they're meant to.
Does that? Well, I have a whisk, so I am gonna just kind of see. This works.
It's doing better than I thought it would.
I mean, it's kind of gelatinous. I'll put a little more in.
Here's the question though, if you're not really measuring how much you're putting in.
That's true.
Right? It's 75% alcohol. So if you're adding an aloe vera, you're actually changing the proportion.
Absolutely.
And so you probably are at 50% at this point.
Really? Oh, but I
mean, if you put in one part.
It's 2 parts booze though.
Oh, it's 2 parts booze to 1 part. So you've cut out basically a third. Probably cut it down by a third. So I think you are at 50%. If it's 75, a third, 50%. So you might be beneath the 60% threshold.
smells really good though. Do you want to smell it?
I don't know. Oh my God.
It smells really bad. Okay, but now this is the real test.
Okay.
Okay, I'm gonna cough in my hands.
Okay.
These are my germ-ridden hands now.
Mm-hmm.
And now I'm just gonna give myself a little spritz of homemade hand sanitizer.
Okay.
And
oh man.
This is disgusting.
Yeah. Well.
It's not really working.
I mean, we'd have to ask the germs.
We would have to ask the germs. But the germs are probably not feeling great right now.
I mean, it's not even on me and I'm not feeling great. So
But this is not really evaporating quite the way.
And you are supposed to wait for it to evaporate.
I thought it would. It's still pretty like wet and goopy.
Yeah.
It also just smells like
it's real bad.
Really one of the worst things ever. Mm. And so hand sanitizer is in very low supply. Mm-hmm. And what would we say to people who think that they can make their own, especially with booze?
I think that's a lot of work when you could just wash your hands. If you can wash your hands with soap and water, you should do that.
Okay.
Because there's all kinds of stuff on your hands. And if you do get hand sanitizer, it really needs to have 60% or more alcohol. Because the CDC says that there are studies that have indicated that that's the way you're gonna kill a lot of the bad germs. If you have less, you're not necessarily gonna get all of the bad germs equally. And on top of that, it may not kill them, it may just slow their growth. So 60% or higher if you have to have hand sanitizer, according to the CDC. But really just wash your hands first. I mean, if you have soap and water, there's really no excuse, just wash your hands.
Just wash your hands. That's kind of it. And
might want to not do that.
Yeah, don't touch it.
Yeah,
No.
especially with that on your hands.